The opinions expressed on Plastic Fantastic are intended for educational and informational purposes only and are not meant as a diagnosis, treatment, or substitute for professional medical advice. The mention of any product, treatment, or procedure on the show does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation and is purely for the information and education of the public.
Welcome to Plastic Fantastic, a weekly show dedicated to the latest in plastic surgery, aesthetics, beauty, and wellness. Now, here are your hosts, board-certified surgeons Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good morrow.
And good morning.
Yes, it is.
We've lost track of the time.
Dr.
Time
Olivia
of day,
Hutchinson.
Dr. Robert
Look
Silich.
at you. Welcome to Plastic Fantastic.
With Dr. Robert Silich.
You know it. And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
I do know it. Not because it just says so on every single item of clothing that you wear.
Do I have my name on all my clothing?
You have it on your white coat. You have
yes.
You have it on your
in
Taylor
case-
Savile Row.
That's in case I get lost.
So
Did your parents do that when you were little and you go to camp? I didn't go to camp, but if I went
You didn't
to
go to camp?
I went to day camp.
Oh.
Well, you know,
Not
sleepaway wasn't a thing for me. Was it for you?
When I was very little in Montreal, because I'm Canadian.
No.
Yes, you
Are you
knew that.
really?
Yes. Bang what?
How was that, eh?
A little shout out to we don't say a
Pretty
in
good,
Toronto.
eh? No, I know. It's different.
And
Wait a minute.
Bob
yes,
and
you
Doug
do.
McKenzie.
Oh, you think that's just up north in Canada?
That is the Great White North. Wasn't
No, I
that
know.
the name of the
But
show?
you mean like they don't say A in
I
Toronto,
never heard
but they
A.
say out and about.
They do. It's a little bit of the leftover British imperialism.
It's weird. It's
HRH.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we make fun of anybody in England right now because of the
No.
recent demise?
Well, I don't
of
do that
QE2?
ever, but
You don't make fun of anyone
since
ever.
Her Majesty has passed on to the Great White North, as you just said,
I think she's a little bit farther beyond the Great White
I'm
North.
so into King Charles right now.
You
I know
are?
I'm losing
What has he
more
been
than
doing?
half of my listeners, I'm sure. But what has he not been doing? The poor guy's been grieving his mom, uniting a nation, looking regal as
Well, I
all
know.
hell, by the way. I
It's
gotta
all
say.
about the clothing.
It's pretty good. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal on Monday, I think it was, of this week, about his style. As a head of state,
Is there a fashion section in the Wall Street Journal?
you know, there's like a personal journal, they call it, and I think
Oh,
they put it in
yes.
there.
Right.
But anyway, you know, as a head of state like a president or a prime minister, it's very business oriented, and there should not be a style. But the point of this article was that the fact that he goes beyond terms, like he's there forever, his mother was there for 70 years, they have a certain style and they have a certain image that is way different as a royal than an elected official. And therefore, he has this very specific style, and apparently he's very into clothing and sustainability of clothing, and he's really into it.
Well,
and, you know,
he carries it off.
he is
very
turned
well.
out, man.
There
you
were
know
lots
it.
and lots of photos, of course, because it was
God,
paparazzi
he looks
everywhere.
like a king.
Not
dare I
just
say,
him, but
right?
yes, but the royal family. So,
Oh, yeah.
Kate looking really wonderful. Also, I think
Spectacular.
she kind of has taken
She
over.
is incredible, isn't she?
In so many ways, yeah, she does a really good job.
And she seems like a nice person. At least that seems like it's coming through. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody has their pluses and minuses. And when you were talking about clothing, I was going to say, is that part of what the meaning of life is all
Oh,
about?
look at how you did that. I like that.
Because
so,
every show that we
We have a
record,
title.
We have a title for. We sit there for hours upon hours trying to come up with the perfect diction for each show and the perfect choice of title. And so for this one, it's the meaning of life.
it's the meaning of life.
And what is the meaning of life? What was that?
Is that a Monty Python movie?
It was a Monty, or
Which
it
is
is a Monty
different than
Python.
Life of Brian.
Also different than Life of Brian. And also there was the Aldous Huxley book. I think it was Aldous, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Wasn't that?
That was
starts off.
Huxley? No.
No, it was the other guy. Gonna look it up. It's been too long. But the Hitchhiker's Guide starts off with the answer to the meaning of what is the meaning of life is 42. Remember that?
That was the number? The answer is 42?
Yes. The whole thing was a Aldous Huxley
Wasn't
was
the
meaning of
Hitchhiker's
life.
Guide
That was
to,
Brave New World.
Yeah. Wasn't the Hitchhiker's Guide the thing where they send...
They made a movie out of it, too.
They send out like something to the universe, to the aliens, and it comes back, send more Chuck Berry?
Yes.
Right? Isn't that in that book?
They also had...
Look at me talking about a book. Check out The Big Brain on Bobby.
I know that you read a lot more. Douglas Adams, that's who it was.
Dougie.
the other A. Adam's oldest, whatever.
Hey, I'm
after
good
a
with
while,
it.
you get
You could
get
say anything to me right now, and I'd be like, yeah, I read
Yeah,
that.
sure. I read everything.
Yep.
What is the meaning of life? Well, the reason I was thinking about that is
God
because
knows,
there
babe.
was we think about it all the time, but there was an article that I read recently, which has to do with finding meaning in your job and how important it is to find something that
It's
is meaningful.
really important.
And also how you don't have to necessarily quit a job that you're in. And of course, this wasn't meant specifically for doctors or surgeons or physicians. It was a general article that has to do with trying to find things that actually lend additional significance to your life. And we're lucky because one of the things that's important is to do something that benefits yourself, but also other people. And what better profession than medicine, which is by definition an altruistic profession,
Right.
improve the lot of at least one person out there. And that's kind of what guides us and motivates
Yeah,
us.
which is, I like to say, if you're a jerk or an idiot,
Is that what you like to say?
you should become a doctor because you could
What?
stay a jerk. But by definition of the fact that you're a doctor, at least somehow
will-
you're going to
it
help
will-
somebody, and you can still continue to be a jerk.
It'll soften the blow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well,
But so I think we should say, what is the meaning of life? And find meaning in your life, not necessarily in your career, don't you think? Because I think
Right.
whatever career you have, no matter how
most people have some kind of
precious
job,
or unprecious you think it is, it's-
employment.
Right,
They
but-
spend their lives doing something. So it's a very significant portion
right.
of
But I
their
think a
life.
lot of people find it mundane and meaningless, and I get that.
Their job?
Yeah. I would go so far as to say the vast majority of people in America
Are
probably
dissatisfied,
dissatisfied
with,
with their job.
Yeah.
So I think you need to find the meaning in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you have to say, oh, well, because I punch a clock 9 to 5 and I do this and, it's got no meaning. It's your life that has the meaning, not the job. Like, who cares what the job is?
Right.
Job is a paycheck to put food
And
on the
then
table.
To use more banalities, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Love you
with
take is
anything.
equal to the love you make. I tell you this all the time.
So, and variations on a theme,
Yep.
but it's a leitmotif really throughout life.
LEIT.
LEIT,
Wow.
yes. Well, we have to bring music into it somehow, right? I mean, we're going to get to yours and my favorite topic, which is
The meaning of life.
food.
Food, I know. Find meaning of life in food.
Food and drink, which is entirely what the meaning of life
We'll
is.
get there. Do you think you've found, without asking what it is, do you
things
think
that
you've
make you
found
happy?
the meaning of life at this stage, at your station in life currently?
No, you're always looking. I think part of the excitement is the quest, right? You always try to make things a little bit better, improve on the situation, come up with, and sometimes it's just little fine adjustments. I do think actually, not that what we do is the be all and end all in terms of caring for others, but even when we do surgery that improves a patient's self-esteem, that helps them psychologically, that can translate into a significant improvement in their overall quality of life. So I think that's very important. And when we do our surgeries, and I know you do this as well, it's not the exact same procedure for every single patient. We make little adjustments here and there. We evaluate patients obviously preoperatively, but even at the time of surgery, sometimes you'll find something that you weren't expecting 100%. And
Yeah.
so that you have to make those, you have to be light on your feet. You have to,
LEIT? Or LIGHT?
well, does spelling even matter anymore?
I'm
Shall
the
we go
worst
there?
speller in the world.
What is
Horrible.
happening to this younger generation that doesn't spell anymore or comes up with just random words which don't really mean anything? It's a lot of onomatopoeias, I think, in terms of how they communicate with each other.
Good word.
But surely you find that, sometimes you'll put in a stitch and you have to take it out.
I
and
do
you have
find
to
that, and don't call me Shirley.
That is Airplane.
It sure was. What
We're
a
gonna-
great movie.
Maybe that should be one of our shows. But for this, we would actually have to prepare a lot more than what we do currently, even though it's an exhaustive preparation
Say,
before.
what preparation are you talking about?
I'm speaking in sarcasm.
I got it.
But we should do the best lines from various movies, or at
Oh, my
least the
God.
famous lines. Don't call me Shirley.
It would be better if we could do the whole show
just using.
just in lines. See how far we could get.
I think
it
that
wouldn't
would be very difficult.
It would be difficult.
That would
and
be
it would
quite
make
the
no
challenge.
sense.
It would But not that we really make that much sense
Boy,
right now.
would we have fun. By the way, you could email us if you'd like to at plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com.
With your favorite movie quotes,
Sure.
perhaps.
We were just doing one this morning that we couldn't find. We thought it was a quote, but it wasn't. We were Googling it all day.
I think Google has changed the results. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I think that they don't always give you what you hope for. And especially when it's a song or something that's on the tip of your tongue, you know, you have that feeling and it's like, just can't figure out what it is. And it's like, oh, I'm going to check in with Mother Google.
Yep.
And Mother Google lets you down.
Look on the Google.
But conversely, just to get back to the concept of doing good for others and finding meaning in your life, there was an article in a different magazine about, I almost did it there, I think, about...
You did. But it's cute. It's one of the things I love about you.
One of the few things that is left over from Canada. But they were talking about physician burnout has just skyrocketed, especially in the last couple of years, partially due to COVID.
You know that burnout in Europe, the phrase burnout?
Doesn't exist.
No, it does. More so than it does here. In Europe, burnout is considered, it's actually like in...
Is that something we have from
what
the
do we have
Europeans?
here? The DSM-4 now, is it?
5, I think.
Is it 5? Accepted diagnostic mental disorders or depressive disorders. Burnout is an official diagnosis that is like considered in insurance reimbursable terms, in medical terms
Interesting.
in Europe, and people actually take or are granted leave for burnout.
How interesting. How do you know that?
I was speaking to somebody who was from the Netherlands, a woman, and she said she had a really bad burnout. So, of course, I was just thinking like, oh, it must have been,
Yeah.
how'd you get through it? He goes, no, I took the time off. I said, oh, that's great. How were you able to do that? And she said, no, they allow you to do that in Europe because it's considered a diagnosis of whatever. I mean,
They also allow you to take a lot of time off for maternity and paternity in certain countries. I think the Scandinavian countries.
again, discriminating against somebody like me who doesn't have children. It's not fair.
Maybe you can do like godfather leave.
Right?
Yeah.
Uncle leave?
Yes.
Please.
Or any of those. Maybe you can do both and sort of combine them into one.
It's such a pleasure. I wouldn't want to ever stop.
Have you been to the Scandinavian countries? Have you visited ever?
But I'd
See?
love to.
Now you can add that
They're
to your
always
list.
happy over there, right? Don't they have a very high index of happiness?
I don't know. I think that
I
depends.
think Bhutan does the highest, right? No, I'm sorry. What am I saying? Burma. No.
They don't call it Burma anymore.
Okay, what
You
do they
have to,
call it?
like,
Myanmar.
Myanmar.
That
yes.
is not the one. I think it is. What's next to Tibet?
Nepal?
It might be the Nepalese. I think it's one of those Asian countries that has the highest. Now, how you measure
The highest elevation?
No, the highest happiness. It's probably related to the elevation. The highest factor
How
of
little
happiness.
do you
but
have to
I don't know how
interact
they
with
measure
people
that.
around you? Is that what it is?
Well, you're
Like
high all the
few-
time on that low
you-
oxygen up there. You're like, yeah,
The
I'm
fewer
so
neighbors
happy.
you have, the happier you are.
Totally. I get along great with the goats up here. I'm good.
You don't have
No.
to fight over.
I got to think of what country has
borders
that. I'm going to check
between
the
the
Google
gardens.
in between.
I wonder if it's going to give you the right answer, though, because that's the thing with the Google, is that you never know what it's going to give you. And then I always have to sort of do some additional digging to make sure that we're in the right.
I'm going to check.
So we're going to come back and talk some more about the meaning of life, or anything that floats your boat.
We'll throw medicine in there somehow.
Well,
get
we
a
did
little
already.
bit in.
Maybe
we're
we've
done.
covered.
Oh, I love it. I love when you're like this.
We
You're such a
can all-
rebel.
A rebel without a cause.
Beautiful. Oh, see?
You're
Can't escape it.
You're listening to The Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillett.
And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. We're going to be right back.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillett and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day,
I'm a firefighter.
a teacher.
I'm a farmer.
I'm a barber.
A waitress. A mom.
We're all part of your community.
Every day we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good.
Others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty.
Something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
It's not about paranoia
or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We
trust our instincts.
Just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillett and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Plastic Fantastic.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silich.
Today, Dr. Hutchinson wants to talk about the meaning of life.
We already have.
No.
What makes you tick?
You were talking about Scandinavian countries and had I been, and I said no. And I said, I think they're really happy there. And guess what? I was right. What's the number one happiest country in the world?
Sweden.
Finland.
Oh, Finland.
That's Scandinavian, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I think there are only a few.
How do they measure this? I don't know.
Well, I was going to ask. Is it the ones who actually know how to speak English and can answer the survey that was
I don't know,
conducted
because
in
they've
English?
got cold, long winters, and who knows?
Well, it's very close to the Arctic Circle there, so...
But they're happy.
Well, they have the Northern
And
Lights,
they know
I
it.
guess you can see.
Clap your hands.
I think that would be fun, though. I think you can take like a little cruise through the Northern Sea. The
Yeah.
North Sea, I guess they call it. Do Denmark.
I bet the food is great up there.
It's very fishy.
Well, the food in Denmark
I
is
would
really
think.
big. Number one restaurant for years keeps being in Copenhagen.
Yes, Noma, right?
Yeah.
Have you been?
No.
Maybe we should do that once.
Live
From Noma.
from Noma.
We're not even going to talk about the food. We're going to do our show from here and talk about
I
plastic
think it's
surgery.
so long and involved to eat there that we probably couldn't do the show.
They do very fancy things, though. They
Yeah.
do really amazing concoctions where they use the chemical properties, the physical properties of food. And
What is that called? Molecular gastronomy.
yes, molecular. It's super fancy. It's, like scientists in the kitchen. The most molecular gastronomy that I'm familiar with is when you...
Mustard on the hot dog.
No, when you beat up egg whites and you throw them in your cocktail.
What the hell is a cocktail?
A drink.
A cocktail. You said cocktail.
I know.
Did you just make that up? You did? No. I have a question then, Miss Scientist, since you're so smart. What is the deal with egg whites in a copper bowl?
Well, the copper is not supposed to get warm, right? So it stays cold longer, and you
Is that right?
keep the...
Check out the
And
big
it doesn't,
brain on
and it
Olivia.
doesn't, I know, it's got to be some kind of oxidation thing.
There's a great
Because,
book.
when you drink or anything that comes in a can, I don't use cans for anything. So I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what
Where are
comes
you-
in a can?
Where are you going with this?
Vegetables? What do you get out
Peaches,
of canned?
tomato sauce, soup,
Anyway, you're not supposed to, once you open it, you're not...
spinach. Didn't you ever watch Popeye?
Yes, but I think he actually, eats the whole can, too, doesn't he?
So great. He squeezes it so the can bends and then it pops
Right.
open
I
and eats
think
the spinach.
that's not a realistic cartoon.
I got you the Food Lab book, right?
Yes, but what happens is that if you open the can, then it oxidizes and it will change
Right.
the taste of the food. So you have to take it out. Oh, canned tomatoes. That's what we use.
Did you just say
I did, so that you could
tomatoes?
understand. So that you can understand.
Oh, so that I would
me.
get it. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. I got it.
Don't you make sauce at home? You get those pressed tomatoes from
Yeah.
the Italian ones.
San
that are so-
Marzano.
yes,
And they
those are
come from a little tiny place.
called San Marzano.
I guess it's amazing how
Italy?
that's really what everybody
Super
wants.
tasty.
No, in the Bronx. Wait,
The
it's in Italy?
Bronx, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is in Italy.
Well, that's the other thing, is that when you start with very fresh ingredients, that is the meaning of life, by the way.
Fresh ingredients?
Finding really spectacular things in the very ordinary. So you go, you pick
So
some
true.
tomatoes,
Isn't it, right?
pick some
You want to
tomatoes.
just find...
And then all you need is, well, that's why I like going to the farmer's market. And then they'll have, fresh things there. And all you need to add is maybe a little sea salt, a touch of olive oil, extra virgin olive
Just to
oil.
zhuzh it up and you're ready
Just
to
to
go.
zhuzh it.
And you're ready to go.
And then maybe, a little bit of fresh basil or something, just
You
to
know,
bring out the flavors.
There's a whole Japanese concept of this
Seitu.
called wabi-sabi. Do you know what that is? Sounds funny, right?
It sounds like a made-up word.
It sounds like a Sammy Hagar album. It's not.
It
it's
sounds
called,
like wasabi and somebody
no,
who's got...
it's wabi, W-A-B-I, sabi is S-A-B-I. And it's very hard to translate, but the concept of it is it's
like
kind of...
umami?
Yes, actually, it kind of is because it's very hard to describe it. It's more of an
But
adjective.
you know it when you see it?
That's right, like pornography.
I
Right?
know. That was-
Exactly. Good call.
Yes.
And there we
Wasn't
are
it a
again.
congressman?
Back to porn. But wait, no, the idea of it is it's the beauty in the things that, I don't want to say decay, but the things that are natural and kind of break down and have like a natural patina to them. Like it's very big in architecture. So they'll use woods that have been weathered and have,
Oh,
you
like
know,
teak, if you leave it out,
yes,
it turns
exactly.
gray.
Right. You can even apply it to beauty. Like there's a whole concept of beauty where gray hair, wrinkling, certain kind of weathered look to clothing, to objects. And that whole concept, it's kind of the art of the imperfection is what it is. And there's a real beauty in that.
Well, that's what nature is.
And that's this whole Japanese concept. It's very important.
Well, we've looked at that, just to bring it back to plastic surgery, for a very, very short time.
Yeah.
They look at women and men who are considered the most beautiful. They look at their facial features. And then they also look at the fact that there's always some degree of asymmetry. So you could call that an imperfection. And if you use these programs now, these computer-generated types of programs where you symmetrize the face and you correct for all those, and I put correct in quotation marks because you're not really correcting, you're actually making it worse.
Right.
It detracts from the natural beauty of the person. So I think that has to do with being human and, you know, your eye actually picking up on beauty as one of the elements of beauty is actually an imperfection.
Do you know what Leonard Cohen said? Your famous countryman. Do you know who Leonard Cohen was?
He was a music guy.
Yeah. He said,
See,
there's
I
a
do
song.
know a little
it's
bit.
very good. And I think he's Montreal.
Producer or something?
No, he was a performer. Passed away recently.
Yeah.
He has a song, I can't remember which one it was, but the famous line was that the broken glass is beautiful because that's where the light shines through, in the cracks, in something that's broken. And that is a very,
very poetic.
Isn't that? Well, he was a poet.
Yes.
And he knows it.
Or at least he did.
And he did. Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silich.
We're talking about the meaning of life. It's pretty philosophical.
We don't
right
have
now.
the answer,
I can tell you what it isn't. Let's talk about what it isn't. What is it not? It's not money. Definitely not money.
Well,
It's
except
not
it contributes to
the meaning. No.
To making you have access to things that might be meaningful. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but if you
it's
amass...
It's a means to an end. Let's put it that way.
Right. It's not the meaning in and of itself.
No.
So if you think that by amassing all the cash, you're going to find it, you're not.
No.
I think it's going to be worse.
Oh, you can be like the Patagonia guy who donated his company to some nonprofits.
Oh, the company Patagonia.
Yes.
Yeah, but somebody gave him a hard time for something like being a non-environmentalist, which I think was really mean because they did a really good thing,
Really?
I thought. Yeah, you know, somebody's
What's a
always
non-environmentalist?
unhappy.
They're always the naysayers.
Somebody's
right?
always unhappy
Shall
about
we quote Taylor
turning
Swift?
up the air conditioner.
Haters will be
Who
haters.
knows? Right?
How about tie-dye? Do you like tie-dye?
No. But my little nieces love tie-dye. They tie-dye everything.
Oh, they do it themselves.
Yeah. They were in that
Have you
phase,
ever done that
but now
where
they're
you,
not.
I guess you literally tie
I don't
the
think I did,
T-shirt or the
but
clothing.
I had a roommate in college that was into the Grateful Dead, and he was tie-dyeing everything.
I wonder what the
His bed
origin of
sheets,
that. I mean, do
everything.
you think that was one of those like mistakes that became popular, like some of
a
these
good
other
question.
inventions that we have, where you
I don't know.
come up with things?
It's kind of interesting. It's not that hard to do.
You just need the tie, and then you need a
dye.
white T-shirt. So things that are not the meaning of life.
Money, fame.
I think things, I would say in general, I think experiences are much more meaningful.
Might be as simple as you started the show with, leave it cleaner than you found it, right? Boy Scout motto. Actually, that's do your
Wait,
best.
did I say that? I don't think so. I was never
You said
in
in the
Scouts.
course of it, do something for others, basically.
Oh, right.
You know.
Yes, I did say that. And definitely clean up after yourself.
Right. Clean up after yourself. Leave it cleaner than you found it.
I think that's one of the things that tourists say when they come to New York.
How
dirty
filthy it is.
Yes.
It is.
And I think that when they stopped, remember for a while during COVID, they stopped doing alternate side of the street cleaning.
Do I remember? Yeah.
For 2 out of the 4 days in Manhattan. I think in some places they also do it Wednesdays and Saturdays, but not in Manhattan.
Yeah, the rat infestations went up through the roof.
Yeah, because there was just
vermin,
so much
everything.
garbage.
It's horrible.
But we just came off of the UN, speaking of people coming to New York City.
Speaking of garbage. Yeah, exactly.
Creating some crazy
havoc
traffic.
in New York City.
Just absolutely
God.
demented. What's funny is that they have all these cops everywhere who seem to almost randomly shut off streets. You just never know. I mean, I walk everywhere, thankfully, so
they
I
just
don't
say,
have to worry about it.
you're not coming down.
I was on my way home and I asked one of them, like, oh, why is the street closed? Very nicely, she said, I have no idea. I just stand here and prevent people from driving.
The police officer said that?
Yes.
Good for her.
Very happy that I'm not in a car asking the same question because that would be completely different.
I think during the UN, what it is a lot of these sleepy little side streets in Midtown and the Upper East Side have little consulates on them. In
this was not a side street.
and
This was the Avenue.
Big Street, the Avenue.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they close a lot of stuff. Plus, the president was here, and they always close it all down for him.
Yes, and then they keep it closed for, I think it doesn't matter who
It's
the
too
president
much.
is.
You'd think he was driving the beast himself, in which case you should evacuate the city, because it doesn't look to me me like he has too much of a good command over the
Well,
over the wheel.
all I can say is that I'm hoping that the UN actually does something for others, because there you have an example of a communal enterprise where people are supposed to,
like the Grateful Dead.
the charter of
It
the
is a
UN,
little
right?
scary though right now.
Yeah.
Scary times.
And I have to say, this is another thing that seems to come up quite a bit, is advice to college grads or to the younger generation is to become involved into something,
Do something.
that is public service, right? Which really is a very broad category. But I think in general, just participating as a member of a community, obviously your family is the smallest community unit, but your city, your neighborhood, or greater, more extensive
Without being
community.
transactional about it, right?
Find some kind of career path where you feel like you're making a difference for one or for many. Really important. And again, I think that, you and I, being in the medical profession, we've sort of lucked out on that, because it's by definition doing things for others. Very, very special. And I think still unique in so many ways. Other healthcare professions too, obviously. Nurses, physician's assistants. I mean, we talk
I
about
remember
that a lot.
I asked early mentor, Dr. Imber, Jerry, who you know, who we work with still. I asked him, what was it about, because he's done this for so long. I asked him, why do you still do it? And what was it about it? What is it about it that you like? He comes back to the simplest form of it. He said, I love the fact that you're doing something for someone. Just the act of doing something he felt was so rewarding, because so many people that we know, particularly in our circles in New York, they don't really do anything, but they make money. Like a lot of people just...
And that's the focus. That's the
Right.
be all and end
And they
all.
would say, well, I do something. I make money. It's like, yes, you do, but they don't create anything. They don't make anything.
That's right.
They don't actively do. And he was always telling me the physical idea of doing something, particularly for another person, is a really special thing. And it's a big thing.
So I think it's inherent in human nature for normal human beings.
pay it
feeling
forward
like
to
you're
do
doing
something.
for
Yeah.
somebody else. And I think that's why, when there are these crises that come up, people really do bond together and come together.
So
and work.
we figured it out. Let's do food now. We
have
just
the
got
mean-
it. See, there it is.
And
we can't,
just in time, we're going to take a very, very short
really?
break. Yes.
Just when we figured out what the meaning of life
We're
is?
going to come and talk about all the food and drink that makes you happy and
All
that
right.
adds to
Let's do it.
the meaning of your life.
I'm into it.
You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich.
And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. We will be right back.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. More in 60 seconds.
There's this place, a place where everyone is just beautiful, where everyone is thin, healthy, and in fantastic shape. It's a place where the beautiful people can eat whatever they want, whenever they want, and never gain weight. Where pro basketball players slam dunk chicken nuggets, hard-bodied supermodels supersize their soft drinks. Thousands of weight loss diets guarantee you'll shed those stubborn pounds in days. Don't believe us? Just flip on your TV, look up at a billboard, or scroll through your social media feed for proof that everyone and everything here is just perfect. Where is here, you ask? Well, welcome to the state of America. Welcome to Obesity USA. Population 115 million and getting bigger by the day. To learn more, go to visitobesity.org. That's visitobecity.org. Brought to you by the Pennington Biomedical Research Foundation.
Plastic Fantastic.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silich.
In case you just tuned in now, you missed it because we figured out the meaning of life, which we're not going to repeat.
You'll
I've
have to
actually
rewind
forgotten
the
it already, I
podcast.
think, when we're done. Olivia's going to whisper it to me. What's
I'm
the
going to
meaning?
do some
What's the
hand
secret?
gestures just to remind you.
It's like, remember in the end of Lost in Translation? Did you ever see that movie
Yes,
with
but
Bill
I
Murray?
just saw it once, and it was a very long time ago.
I just saw it once too, but I do remember there was a very poignant scene.
Unlike you, I
in
remember
the end
it.
of it. You'll remember this as soon as I mention it. In the end of the movie, they hug each other, and he whispers something in her ear. He whispers something to Scarlett Johansson, the character, and you don't know what it is, and they
that's
never
the
explain
meaning
it.
of life?
I don't know. It just reminded me of that. They never explain it. And the movie ends there. He says something to her. And it's long. It's not like, oh, is he whispering? Like they make a point of showing him whispering something into her ear, and you don't know what it is that he says.
Do you think it's a line from Stripes or Caddyshack?
Freeze, gopher. I don't know what he said.
Pool in a pond?
Right. It could have been very good. It could have been. But whatever it is, they don't let you know.
Oh, I see.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
And then is there a sequel? No, they never did a sequel, so that they can start off with
and
that
movie
scene.
it was cute, but then it got a lot of heat for being very anti-Japanese, a little bit racist. Their
Didn't he do a whiskey commercial? I think isn't that?
Yeah, but I think the stereotypical portrayal of a lot of the Japanese characters in that
that's unfortunate.
movie are kind of like lame. But anyway, who cares? Let's talk about food. What did you make this week?
I've been making very little.
That's okay. Give me something little. Doesn't matter.
I've been sort of sticking to the basics, my basics. I still go to the farmer's market. I get the heirloom tomatoes.
Got it.
The heirloom tomatoes.
I think they're going to, somebody told me that they're going to get, maybe it was Jerry, that they're going to get burned because of the frost. The first frost should do them all.
Well, already 2 weeks ago, it was not great because they had a very dry spell. And so it really depends on the weather, obviously, because they're planting these things out in the field. So there are certain things that they grow in greenhouses. I think strawberries. I think I saw strawberries at the farmer's market. Clearly that's not out in the fields, but they still taste really yummy. So I've been just doing salads and getting grilled chicken, very, very light fare.
Chicken is deceptively difficult to make right.
Not when you buy it because it's been made for you.
That's true. Yes, that is true.
Then you just have to pick the
but
size.
But if you're making it raw from scratch, so to speak, it's tricky. Like a roast chicken, gotta think about it.
Yes. And I don't have one of those rotisseries, which I think makes a big difference when you're doing the chicken, because then you get the skin all crispy and stuff. I did read about a restaurant that apparently our mayor likes to frequent.
What doesn't he like to frequent, the guy? He's the king of all nightlife.
And I know that we're not supposed to plug any restaurants or
plug
any
away,
places.
as I say.
So I'm not plugging it because actually it was a very critical, negative article, both about him.
Oh, is this the place where he's getting free meals?
I don't know if they're free or not, but it's La Baya. It's called. It's in Midtown. Oh.
So he's in trouble because and they're wrong, I think. They thought that he was eating for free, which is against. Probably some idiot is following this guy around being like, I didn't see a check.
Well, it was written in the New Yorker, and
which is apparently against the New York law, city law, that the mayor cannot get free gifts,
I see. That's why she
whatever.
mentioned it. Okay.
He said he has a house account.
Is that a euphemism? She also mentioned that the owners are apparently felons or something. Anyway, it was just like generally like the food's terrible.
Doesn't mean they can't cook.
Right.
Food was terrible?
Yeah.
Go back to jail. Wow.
I don't know why this particular restaurant. I mean, that's one of the things that we have here in New York is that we have a plethora of restaurants of all kinds and of cuisines.
Big time.
So that you can, I know you like to go Japanese. There's a lot of omakase. We talked about some of the new restaurants.
Right now, yeah.
It seems like all the new Japanese restaurants
Almost.
are doing omakase.
I think it's great. I told you why. I think it's good for the restaurant too. I think they probably save a tremendous amount of money by doing it that way. They have a set number of, what do they call it, covers in a restaurant. They know exactly how much food to get, what to make.
The other thing that's nice is that there are a lot more people coming into the city. Just my own, personal friend, also lots of tourists. But it's sort of an impetus to try new things because otherwise you just get used to your own little neighborhood.
Right.
They know you. I mean, there's always something nice about that because they recognize you and then they'll give you special treatment and maybe they'll make recommendations. But we should look that up, actually. How many restaurants are there in New York? I wonder if they've done a new tally since COVID, since they've allowed things to reopen.
It's tricky, and I guess it's hard to say what's a restaurant. Like, is a hot dog stand a restaurant? I guess it no? I don't mean the cart. I mean like a little. No, I don't know. You got to wonder what
you mean
they
like the 7-Elevens.
Well, yeah, or like a bodega or a deli in New York. I don't really. They serve food,
but I think some places
there has to be
tables.
A place with a kitchen, tables, and servers.
Yes, where you get served, not a cafeteria or anything like that.
Or an automat.
I thought you were going to say an auto repair shop.
No, not that either.
I don't think that.
They might have a vending machine in there.
They might have coffee for you.
There you go.
Because I think some of these places...
No coffee like car wash coffee,
By the way, have you seen some of the really fancy auto dealers in Midtown and downtown? All these
on the west side?
Yeah, well, some of them, I mean, even like Ferraris on Park Avenue. Then they have like the Bentley dealership. It's just kind of fun because they have... I think a couple of them are over on 57th Street.
Yeah, 55th is the Ferrari store, which has been there forever.
On the east side. But on the west side, always on the way over to the West Side Highway or towards towards the Lincoln Tunnel. Which
Yeah, it's funny how they're all in like the same spot.
Yeah, but they have huge windows, and then you can sort of see them, and some of them are on
Right.
little rotating stands, and it's pretty interesting that way. But one of the things that I think is nice about New York City is because they've added all this outdoor space, the restaurants that really did a good job with it have made these quasi-permanent structures with plants. There are, people who
Thank God it's quasi.
You want them gone?
Yeah, I hate those outdoor things. I think they're dangerous for everybody, all involved.
Well, I think
The diner, the server, the bike guy going down the bike lane to kill the poor waiter.
I think that's the worst, actually, because when was it Bloomberg who reorganized the avenues where you have the parking and then the bike lane?
In that famous third term of his.
Yes, I remember that quite
Remember
well.
that?
So, of course, I was, walking through the park the other day on one of the days when there is no vehicular traffic, but you have these people on those automated scooters or automated
terrible.
bicycles or
Yeah.
even motorcycles.
Going 40, 45 miles an
Going
hour.
super fast.
Yeah.
And, if you don't expect it, or those people who are running and who have headphones in or iPods or whatever the things in their ears.
And there's a lot of injuries from those.
AirPods, and they don't hear what's happening. And I know you're supposed to look and whatever, but these guys are going fast. I think you're right. I think there's definitely a safety aspect to it.
All you made was heirloom tomatoes.
And then I get the fresh bread. And
Right. Do you toast it?
not when it's super fresh. So I'm
Right.
I'm really
nothing
picky.
like that.
There's a new French bakery that opened near me. They've had some other Julien, and he used to work at Pâtisserie Paillard.
Oh, yeah.
The main.
By the way, you could tune into YouTube to see the subtitles on the last 30 seconds of this broadcast. Yeah, I have seen
Julien.
that. That was at the place, the Paillard that was on Lexington.
Yes, and then he moved across and he totally changed it. Now it's BLT steak or
Yeah.
something. The
Supposed to be good.
Tourandelle.
Every third word out of you is another. What is it?
They're French. Their names are French. I don't know how to
God, what did
pronounce it
Steve
in
Martin
English.
say? French. They've got like a different word for everything.
Hamburger?
Oh, God.
He did that when he was.
That is nuts, my
new-
dog. Well, that's not my car, he says. That's
Oh,
right.
he was the new.
Oh, that joke
the
was, does your
inspector.
dog bite?
Yes,
That's
that's
right.
not. Yeah, that's not my dog. Yeah, he pretends like he's
Probably
French
can't do
and-
those movies anymore.
Probably not. You have to be very careful. I mean, we may not be able to do a podcast. God only knows.
God.
The pod. Maybe the pod is offensive
Oh,
to
my
someone.
God. Offending all the
Or-
peas in the world? Pod. Why is it called a podcast? Because it was on iPods first?
I think so.
Really?
You're asking the wrong person. You
I
realize
thought I'm
that?
asking the right person. Well, you could
All I
email
know
us,
is
by
that
the
I
way.
show up.
You do. You do more than show up. Who said 90% of life is showing up?
I don't know, Ben
I think it was
Franklin?
like Woody Allen, believe it or not. I'm serious. Another illustrious American.
Figure between Ben Franklin and
Woody Allen,
Einstein.
you hit it? All right, you were close. You could email us at plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. You also could find this podcast, God knows why you'd want to,
On
but you
YouTube?
could if you want on YouTube or Spreaker.
That's a big one. I think
or
YouTube.
YouTube, yep. Spotify.
iHeart.
iHeart Olivia.
Everywhere.
Right?
We'll come up with some other ones. We
Yeah.
should just create our own platforms.
On His Majesty's Internet. I
There
should
we
say,
go.
right? Interesting. It's going to take
Now
me a
that
while
it's
to say
king.
that now that it's no longer...
What's his first public thing that he has to do? Appearance, or they do all these
well, he said his
special events.
first state visit was going to be France.
Really?
He said that after he met with...
Macron?
Or Macron, yeah. Okay. Which guy?
Wait, why is he going to? But it was.
I
there
don't
a
know.
particular
They had
reason?
apparently a nice conversation at the funeral reception, at the state funeral.
There are a
and
lot of people
He
who-
announced that was going to be his first state visit. Was going to
I
be.
guess President Biden did not stay for the funeral.
No, he was at the funeral.
I thought he went for part of it and then he left to come back to the States because.
Well, I think he left. Well, I
he was
think
gonna go
that
speak at the UN.
there was a different crowd that was at the Windsor Castle part of the funeral.
Oh, I see. The thing went on for so long. I mean, I realize
I loved
she's
every
96.
second
Did you
of it.
watch all of it?
Are you kidding? I was up at 5:00.
You were not.
I was.
Oh my goodness.
Totally.
Did you notice also that she had beautiful weather for the entirety? Was there one day where it rained? I mean, this is England,
I know.
ladies and gents.
Well, I told you it's a big myth that it rains more there than it rains here. Convinced of that.
Well, it's definitely foggy. I didn't even see the fog.
Yeah, but whatever.
Jack the Ripper, Sherlock Holmes, all those movies, they're always in like foggy.
But isn't it
and-
true, though, that a lot of that fog and mist was related to all the coal
Maybe.
energy back
might
in
be
the
right.
in the 1800s and the early 20th century?
So my
too?
question to you is,
Yeah.
what did you make this past week? That
God, I was afraid you were going to ask me that. I
'Cause you
didn't
can't
really-
remember.
No, I keep making this punch that I told you about.
Oh, with alcohol?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not too high in alcohol. So it's got...
Is it a whiskey base? Or
no,
what's
it's blood orange, Campari.
Oh, I love it already.
Really good.
Blood
orange juice, Campari.
Only a little Campari, because that's super bitter.
A tiny bit.
Yeah. And then that just brings out the flavor.
Lillet.
Is there a little umami?
Which is a French...
Is there umami in drink? Can you say that? Or is that
Oh,
only a food?
of course there is.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, they're very into that.
Pardon my ignorance.
Mixologists.
Yes.
Anyway, blood orange juice, Campari, a little bit of Campari. Lillet.
Lillet, yeah.
Which is, what would you say that? Lillet Blanc. Yeah, but what is that?
It's also a liqueur
It's
of
a
some kind.
wine-based mild liquor. It's not a very high alcohol content. And then, believe it or not,
but also a little
tonic
bitter,
water.
I think. Oh, so it's okay. That's
and that's it. And it is amazing.
Wait, so the only mixer is the blood orange? Everything else is alcoholic?
Well, tonic has no alcohol in
Oh,
it. So
tonic,
tonic,
you said,
blood
right,
orange,
okay.
and then Campari and Lillet. And it's great.
And what do you call it? Shave?
There was a name for it. It's some kind of punch that it came out of the Financial Times, and so it's some kind of London punch that they have.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But whatever.
That sounds
I've
delicious.
been having
I think
that
you
with
should call
lots of
it
different meals.
The punch of Silich.
I guess. It's not
Rob's
very
punch.
not very manly. I'll have some punch, please.
Call it something else then. Like the Long Island iced tea. I think that's basically a punch of everything. It's
Yeah,
a little
but that
bit.
is a punch in the liver too, I'll tell you that. Boy, that's a pretty heavy duty drink. I tried to make homemade pesto, which was a massive failure.
Why?
I
Think
don't
that's pretty
know.
easy.
Walnuts, basil.
you put walnuts
I
instead
should have
of
put pine nuts.
pine nuts.
That was my mistake.
Or you can skip it altogether.
Because
and
it turned
just
out
do
to be
basil.
too kind of bittery.
Yeah, you have to be very careful with that. I just do
Anyway,
basil and
but I
cilantro.
tried.
But if you don't try,
Right?
you're never going to succeed.
There you go.
And that's the other part of the meaning of life. Right before we wrap it up,
Try it.
if at first you don't succeed, try
Just
again.
keep trying it.
Just keep trying.
Absolutely. As Winston
Never,
Churchill said.
ever
Give up. And he also said, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ah.
Keep buggering on.
And that's going to be
KBO.
another one of our shows. Just quotes from Winston Churchill.
We could do a whole show
we could
on
do
Winston
several
Churchill.
shows. I think I have the speeches
What a
at home.
good guy.
You've been listening to Plastic Fantastic Show
With Dr. Winston Churchill. Sorry, Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
and Dr. Winston Churchill.
And Dr. Winston Churchill. My dad said I
Dr.
looked like
Robert
Winston
Silk.
Churchill when I was born, by the way.
Really? That's so cute.
Fat, bald, a little bit of red hair on
With
the
a
side of
cigar?
the ears.
A cigar in
No
your
cigar, but I guess it was the pacifier.
Or maybe the top hat.
Little Winnie.
And Dr. Robert Silich. If you have some emails you'd like to send
Please
us,
do it.
questions, comments, Plastic
Please do
Fantastic
it. Give us a
Show.
topic to talk about. We're bored.
PlasticFantasticShow@gmail.com. And listen to us again next week.
You've been listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Produced by Mike Scheck. This is Bill Eugene speaking. Got a question? Email plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. And be sure to listen right here every week for another episode of Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.